Well, we do have an update today. The trial judge for Karmelo Anthony was removed as the North Texas teen seeks a new murder trial. Big headlines today. Our reporter Alex Boyer from our sister station in Dallas is live in Collin County. And Alex, can you tell us what exactly happened in court?
Sure thing. Good afternoon, Caroline. That's right. I can tell you that the proceedings this morning lasted just about an hour. It was actually relatively quick. So the defense attorney presented its case before a visiting judge who is actually the judge who presided over the Uvalde case that happened several months back. He was brought over from Bexar County in the San Antonio area in order to be here today to take part in this motion to have the original judge recused from any future proceedings. After hearing the evidence presented by the defense attorney, he ultimately decided to recuse Judge John Roach, again, who presided over the original murder trial. So now Judge Roach is out, and we have learned that a new judge is coming out of retirement from neighboring Kaufman County. His name is Michael Chitty, and he will actually handle what's going to happen tomorrow, and that is the motion for a new trial. That hearing expected to get underway at 9 o'clock. I can tell you, Caroline, some of the evidence that was presented today that ultimately swayed the visiting judge to his decision to recuse Judge Roach is the fact that just 2 days after Karmelo Anthony was found guilty, Judge Roach gave an interview to a local TV station and talked about the case and said that he felt that the jury got it right. So that was a big part of it today. All 18 minutes of that raw interview were played today for that judge to listen to. And then the other issue that was brought up was a lack of people's ability to be able to access the courtroom. Keep in mind that people were lining up for hours in order to get inside to get one of 27 seats at the time. So they made an argument that this case was really closed to the public to be able to view and listen to the evidence for themselves.
What's good, y'all? Elite Live Streams. We back on another one. How you guys doing out there? Welcome to another live stream. I hope you guys been doing well. Great day. Obviously, you guys know we've been covering this Karmelo Anthony case since the beginning. So you know we had to bring this big update. Salute to everybody out there. What up, Tori? And salute my brother. It's been a really interesting last couple of months since we got the verdict from what happened to Karmelo Anthony. Obviously, a lot of us, you know, we stand with Karmelo, you know what I'm saying? And so a big part of the push that we've seen from the grassroots media has been to continue to debunk a lot of the false narratives that have been in the media and in the mainstream media, and then as well, a lot of independent research, right? A lot of independent journalists who are boots on the ground, giving us the direct report of what is happening actually in the courtroom, what is happening in the atmosphere around the courtroom, what's happening with the families. There's a lot that's been transpiring over these last couple of months since this verdict, and a lot of people have stood on business for Karmelo, and I couldn't be more proud. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, being an independent media myself, it's very important for us to always be on the right side of history and to give the most accurate account as it comes in every single day, if possible, right? Obviously, with this case, it's been constantly developing and we've been getting new information every single day, right? And so this one being one of the biggest ones, right? Where now we have an actual move where the judge, the trial judge, you guys already know, John Roach has been removed, okay? He has been removed from the appeal. A new judge has been appointed. So we're going to talk about this today, guys, because this is a big deal, man. This is a big deal, and it's something that we definitely got to talk about as we continue to cover the case. But first things first, we got to give a round of applause, right, to Karmelo's new legal team. They've been whooping ass. They've been on top of their game. They haven't been messing around with these people, and it's exactly what he's needed because as of right now, we've really started to see a shift, right? A lot of people are starting to act different, right? A lot of people have been on the wrong side of history, and more details will come out as we start to see them, right? But first things first, what we got to do, we got to start from the beginning, right? So what I'm going to do is we're going to read, okay? We're going to read a little bit about the report. Then I'm going to play the actual clip from Fox News that I played at the very beginning of the stream so that we can as well get the mainstream viewpoint, right? So let me bring this up first here, and then we'll get into it, all right? So let's talk about it, okay? So the Texas judge who proceeded over the Karmelo Anthony murder trial has been removed from further proceedings in this case as the teen seeks a new trial, all right? So let's keep this in mind. Karmelo is only 19 years old, guys, all right? This happened when he was 17. We all know the story, right? So from that perspective, he's fighting for his life, man. He's a young kid, as you guys know, we start to move forward and we start to get a little bit more into the truth, the other side is going to present their side of things. And what we are now starting to see is a character assassination push from the prosecution. Now they're trying to figure out any way to muddy up Karmelo Anthony's reputation because as we've started to see, everyone has come out backing Karmelo as being a good kid, a model student, a model athlete, okay? The Metcalf twins, the complete opposite, all right? So with those, both of their histories being in contrast, right, as the media has started to peel back the layers, right, and as we started to peel back the layers as independent media, it has now shown a specific picture of the Austin Metcalf being more of the aggressor bully archetype and Karmelo Anthony being the model student doing what he was supposed to inside of a tent, gets attacked, and then we all know what's going to happen, right? So salute to Tori, and he says, this is a step in the right direction. The fight is far from over. Salute. Yes, and that's a big part of my point tonight is we can celebrate this, but we also got to stay locked in because we already know these all are two wings of the same bird, okay? We already know a lot of these judges are tapped in with one another. They're all from a same very, very small fraternity, okay? And sorority if we're talking about women who are part of this. But the judiciary system, there's a very, very small portion of these people who know each other. And specifically, we're talking about Texas now. Texas, we already know the history of Texas, okay? So let's continue, all right? So Anthony was convicted and sentenced to 35 years in prison in June for fatally poking a fellow student at a high school track meet. In the defense motion seeking the recusal of Judge John Roach from a post-trial proceedings, Anthony's attorneys questioned both the judge's impartiality and in this case, and his courtroom restrictions, all right? So we talked about this where, like I said, there was a lot of independent journalists who are boots on the ground. One's being specifically Neek at Night, right? Neek at Night is I think she's there right now. Okay. So she's in Texas right now. She was there during the trial, and she specifically talked about how the court would specifically pick and choose what days, who specifically could be in the court, who couldn't be in the court, how they were specifically keeping a lot of the public and independent media out of the courtroom. All right. So a lot of shady going ons were happening. And so obviously the brother Russell Wilson, Carmelo Anthony's new attorney, brought this to the forefront, and it was heard by the new judge, Judge Chitty. Okay. So let's continue. Ahead of the high-profile trial, Roach imposed a gag order in the case and barred any electronics from the courtroom during the proceedings due to the attention the case had garnered. Now, obviously, that is a bad thing. We can't be doing that because, like, this is a freedom for information, okay? We are underneath a Freedom of Information Act. So, you, as an independent journalist or media person, you can go out of your way to be able to take notes, do what you have to do, laptops, all those types of things, to be able to put your best foot forward to give an accurate account of your journalistic perspective. And if you can't do that, then we already know what that means. That means that you're going to get a biased commentary. And mind you, a lot of people who have attached themselves to this Carmelo Anthony case want to be on the biased side of things. They want to lie. They want to change the narrative. They want to make Carmelo Anthony out to be something that he's not. And that's a part of their, motivation behind what they're doing, right? But over here, like we always say on Elite Media, we always bring the receipts, and we always try to make sure that we bring you guys a journalistic integrity for every story that we cover, not just the Carmelo one, right? So let's continue. The motion cited what it was called a problematic comments Roach made during an interview following the verdict, in which the judge said he endorsed the jury's guilty verdict and defended his courtroom restrictions. It also pointed to a public letter that Roach released following the trial, in which he stated that those who worked on the case contributed to ensuring the process was conducted fairly. Now, we talked about how he wanted to be in front of the cameras, right? He wanted to be, all in front of the cameras, right? He wanted to be all in front of it. He wanted to get all the attention as soon as this was over. And now, ironically, that's coming back to bite him, right? That's coming back now to bite him because he should have shut his mouth, right? He should have been quiet. He should have followed his own rules and put a gag order on himself, right? But as we know, these people have egos. They have a problem. Their obsession with a level of control. They cannot be quiet. They cannot allow themselves to just let it be. They have to make sure that they put their stamp on it, that they make sure that they put their name on it and stand proud about the work that he did, which was railroading a teenager who was defending himself, right? Just proud of himself, huh? So let's continue. The court made an extrajudicial public statement that objectively appeared to commit to the verdict and the challenged access's ruling, while it still remained the authority to decide a timely motion for a new trial, attacking those very matters, the motion statement. During a hearing on Wednesday, defense attorney Russell Wilson argued that Roach gave a public comment about an impending proceeding, which should be an automatic recusal, according to ABC Dallas affiliate WAAA. Okay, so look, this is the part of this where I was saying, like, he couldn't help himself. He just couldn't help himself. His ego would not allow him to just sit back. He had to take ownership of it. He had to say, I did this to a 17-year-old child who was defending himself against bullies. He had to get in front of it because his ego couldn't allow him to just let it be, right? And so naturally, when you do that, you're putting yourself up like the brother Russell Wilson was speaking on, is that this was an impending proceeding, right? The verdict had just came out, right? It had just rolled out. It was just national news, and this dude is already doing an interview, clout chasing. That clout gonna get it. That clout is gonna get it every time, y'all. Clout is a hell of a drug, and a lot of people like to talk about, oh, these kids are clout chasers. No, this is grown people. These are judges. A judge is a clout chaser, and that costs him dearly. Okay, and that's the problem. All right, the problem a lot of times is the fact that a lot of these people are driven by entities inside of them that they cannot control, and once that takes over them, that also leaves so many mistakes in the path of destruction, right? All of these things that they did to railroad Karmelo left all of these mistakes that the attorney Russell Wilson can now point out and actually go into and be able to bring to the forefront and be able to actually tell the jury, like, yo, these people was doing malpractice to this young brother. And look what they did. All right. So salute to brother Russell Wilson. He is doing the right thing. And he's also not letting these guys get off the hook. All right. So let's talk about Bill Worski. All right. Bill Worski argued that Roach didn't do anything wrong and alleged that there was a concerted effort from social media and influencers to disrupt the high-profile trial. Now, I want you guys to understand that this is a very important element of what this case has now become, is the fact that we always try to make sure that you guys understand that the grassroots is the pulse of all things. All right. The grassroots is the pulse. We are the drivers of the topics. We are the ones who raise awareness, and we are the new media. And this proves it. Okay. This is showing that the social media, like he's pointing out, and influencers have now been able to not allow mainstream media and as well the court systems to be able to control the narrative against what's happening to Karmelo. And they don't like that. Let's make it clear that they do not like the power that a lot of us have as content creators, independent journalists, and media people who are doing the work independently. Nobody is telling us what to do. We have no dark money behind us. No one can silence us. We get on our platforms. We talk about the topics that we want to talk about when we want to talk about them. And they hate that because what we're doing is debunking the false narratives and we're spreading the truth. And the truth is disrupting everything that's happened right now to Karmelo. We're not allowing them to just do what they usually do to most of our young brothers that we've seen over time, right? And maybe that's why people feel so passionate about Karmelo and what he's going through, is because what he looks like, and because of what he represents, and because of the life that he has to live still, being such a young brother. We see our nephews in him. Some people have sons. Some people have, grandchildren who look like Karmelo, okay, who could be in the same situation as Karmelo, right? And they stand with him. So naturally, when this case started to make waves across social media, when it started to make waves across the entire mainstream media, and how the social media, the grassroots, the Black American grassroots, we were the ones who kept this story alive. We were the ones who helped him get justice, and we are going to continue until he's free. Straight up. Salute to Torin. He says, if they pull this off, the usual suspects who support Derek Chauvin are going to be even more pissed. They've been trying to get him out and still are. And he took out George Floyd. Yeah, man, listen, bro, like I told you, this is important. I'm gonna read this again for y'all, just so you guys understand. The prosecutor, Bill Worski, argued that Roach didn't do anything wrong and that the alleged that there was a concerted effort from social media and influencers to disrupt the high-profile trial. This proves the power that a lot of you guys have. Independent media. Salute to my brother Torian Rain, who's been doing work, who's out here getting it, who's making sure his platform is being represented correctly. All right. The grassroots media has literally been able to not allow mainstream media, the court system, the law enforcement to be able to tell the story. We are boots on the ground. We are controlling the narrative, and they can't stand it. All right. They can't stand it, y'all. It has disrupted the entire shape of this case, and they're shook behind that. And that's why the prosecutor, Bill Worski, brought it up in court today. He brought it up today because he understands that social media is driving the climate around this case. It is making sure, it is forcing them to have to tell the truth, because every single lie that they tell us, we are going through it like a fine-tooth comb. We're looking at every single piece of evidence. We are holding them accountable to everything that they say. And they can't lie to us anymore, and it's making them mad. It's pissing them off, all right? Okay? So look, Judge Sid Harrell, who traveled from San Antonio for the proceedings in Collin County, granted the defense motion to recuse Roach from any further matters in the Karmelo Anthony case. In his order, Harrell wrote that there were grounds for recusal in that evidence adduced at the hearing is such that is respondent to judges' impartiality and might be responsibly to be questioned. All right. So this debunks everything that they had been telling us since the beginning, since we started covering this case, since I've been at the beginning of this case. All right. I told you guys that that judge was corrupt. There was pictures of him. There was things circulating in the background about him and his connection to the Metcalf family and or associates of the Metcalf family. We said that on wax multiple times, and people tried to debunk it. There were other influencers buck dancing, talking about, no, they lying. Them is AI photos. Them ain't real photos. Turns out it's true. Turns out he actually has to be held accountable for his connections to the Metcalf family because it was rigged up from the jump. Like we've been saying, we already told you guys that this was rigged up, that Karmelo Anthony was getting railroaded. And they tried to gaslight us and make it seem like we was lying, bro. Being on the right side of history, making sure that you stay locked in on your news sources, and not only that, doing your own independent research. It'll get you far in life, man. Let me tell you something, okay? People walked out of the courtroom cheering loudly and crying. A crowd of dozens in the parking lot shouted chants of "Free Karmelo." All right, I'm telling y'all, man, if Karmelo beats this case, man, it's gonna turn up. We're gonna see a different side of the internet that y'all ain't never seen. Dig this. When Trayvon Martin passed away, right? When he was unalived by that fat, ugly, smelly man, okay? There were endless memes of people on Twitter and places like this. This is early internet stuff. This is early social media stuff, okay? Who are making memes and pictures with Skittles and iced teas and Arizona iced teas and hoodies. I remember that, right? So obviously, you know, George Zimmerman, he gets off, boom. All right, they go about it, whatever, right? But just the climate on the internet was just so dark during that time, right? So now just imagine the inverse of that, where Karmelo Anthony Young brother walks because he defended himself against a bully who was trying to do something to him. He gets a new trial. He gets an all-star team of lawyers who come in hot and have already gotten corrupt judge recruits from the case. Now, listen, this ain't, we far from where we want to be. We're real far from it. But as we start to gain momentum, I'm telling y'all, man, it's going to shift. The narrative is already shifting, but you're going to see the climate on the internet get real salty. It's going to be salty. It's going to be salt flats on the internet because people are going to be so mad about what Karmelo is about to do and his team is about to prove, all right? And like I told y'all, now their whole objective is to assassinate his character. They talking about, oh, his girlfriend was talking about all this other stuff and all, man, rumors. Where's the proof? All right. All we talking about is rumors, man. All right. So look, a hearing on Anthony's motion for a new trial is scheduled for Thursday, which was today. His attorneys allege in part that Roach's courtroom restriction denied a fair trial. They also alleged that the court improperly instructed the jury and claimed the prosecutor prevented Anthony from testifying that he acted in self-defense. Now, this was a big contention for a lot of people in our space. We all were asking why Karmelo wasn't able to defend himself, why he wasn't able to take the stand, why he wasn't able to speak for himself. And now it comes out that he was being coached by his former defense attorney and the current prosecution, right? So obviously he's under pressure. He's under immense pressure. His parents are doing the best that they can. They don't really know too much about this world. So they're, underneath whatever is going to come from the advisory of their defense attorney at the time, which was that crypt keeper looking MFer. You already know who we talking about, okay? So ain't nobody really surprised behind that, but that is an interesting piece to bring forward because it continues to prove what we've already had speculations about, which was the fact that Karmelo was not given a fair trial and he wasn't able to speak for himself about him acting in self-defense, okay? Anthony's attorney said that they are pleased by Harrell's decision to recuse Roach and look forward to presenting the merits of Karmelo's motions for a new trial to a fair and independent judge, all right? In a statement, the defendant's new lawyers have filed a motion containing several inaccurate. This is from Dave. This is from Wertsky. Okay, this is from the prosecutor Wertsky. All right. So he says the defendant's new lawyers have filed a motion containing several inaccurate characterizations of the trial proceedings. I and the entire prosecution team conducted the trial ethically and in full compliance of the court's rulings and any agreements with defense counsels. Okay, so we already know that these people were corrupt, right, from the jump. We already understand what they were putting and as well, they were handicapping Karmelo as he was going through the proceedings, right? So now that the attorney, Russell Wilson, brought forward these facts, okay, now the prosecutor Wertsky, he's feeling some type of way and he's saying these are inaccurate and these are all lies, right? Obviously, as lawyers do, okay? So let's continue. Let me scroll down a little bit. All right. So jurors had the option to consider manslaughter as well as whether the crime was a sudden passion, both of which would have limited the maximum possible sentence to 20 years. Anthony did not testify during the trial. Listen to this, guys. That's the point, is we already knew that there had to be a certain maximum and then a minimum. And the minimum, like a lot of us were saying, we even had when Torin was on here, when we was chopping it up about this, was we thought it would be at the maximum manslaughter. That's what we thought. But the fact that they got him on a first degree M word was just absolute malpractice. And we all knew that that was ridiculous because this was not premeditated. Okay, this was an act that was in self-defense in the moment. Nobody knew this was going to happen. Nobody had a premeditation about this at all. But yet we're supposed to believe that this was M1. Like, come on, man. The deadly poking occurred at a Frisco Independent School District stadium on April 2nd, 2025. Now, like I mentioned, we've been covering this story since the beginning, since it came out, since it hit mainstream media. And like I told you, it's been a lot of twists and turns, man. A lot of people have said that there were back and forths, and obviously the videos came out, and then people started to dissect the videos, and the videos started to show a much more grimmer picture about what Karmelo actually went through, and the fact that he was absolutely surrounded with zero support. All right. They ain't gonna talk about that, but they're gonna leave out all these very, very intricate parts. You know what I'm saying? That they're trying to make sure that Karmelo is looked at as the aggressor. And we ain't gonna do that. All right. So now that we just got through the story, right? That was more of the literature. Now I'm gonna bring up the actual clip here for y'all so we can watch this and do a little reaction. All right.
Today, the trial judge for Karmelo Anthony was removed as the North Texas teen seeks a new murder trial. Big headlines today. Our reporter Alex Boyer from our sister station in Dallas is live in Collin County. And Alex, can you tell us what exactly happened in court?
Sure thing. Good afternoon, Caroline. That's right. I can tell you that the proceedings this morning lasted just about an hour. It was actually relatively quick. So the defense attorney presented its case before a visiting judge who is actually the judge who presided over the Uvalde case that happened several months back. He was brought over from Bexar County in the San Antonio area in order to be here today to take part in this motion to have the original judge recused from any future proceedings. After hearing the evidence presented by the defense attorney, he ultimately decided to recuse Judge John Roach, again, who presided over the original murder trial. So now Judge Roach is out, and we have learned that a new judge is coming out of retirement from neighboring Kaufman County. His name is Michael Chitty, and he will actually handle what's going to happen tomorrow, and that is the motion for a new trial. That hearing expected to get underway at 9 o'clock. I can tell you, Caroline, some of the evidence that was presented today that ultimately swayed the visiting judge to his decision to recuse Judge Roach is the fact that just 2 days after Karmelo Anthony was found guilty, Judge Roach gave an interview to a local TV station and talked about the case and said that he felt that the jury got it right. So that was a big part of it today. All 18 minutes of that raw interview were played today for that judge to listen to. And then the other issue that was brought up was a lack of people's ability to be able to access the courtroom. Keep in mind that people were lining up for hours in order to get inside, to get one of 27 seats at the time. So they made an argument that this case was really closed to the public to be able to view and listen to the evidence for themselves.
All right, y'all. So look, that's the story. You know what I'm saying? That's where it was on a mainstream level. But like I mentioned, like as they talked about, is the fact that it happened real quickly, right? Because of what? Him doing that interview, right? That was the nail in the coffin, because we already knew, like I said, once they lifted that gag order, not only did we see the judge, but we also saw the Metcalf father go completely unhinged, right? He went completely off the handle. He's lost it. He's a drunk, babbling fool, okay? But at the end of the day, it gave a lot of us a real insight into who these people were, what they actually were thinking, and the fact that they were just corrupt and they were looking to make sure that Karmelo Anthony didn't get a fair trial. They were trying their best, you know, during the whole proceedings to make it seem like, you know, oh, we're just going to keep things, you know, and then a week later, he's sentenced to 35 years in prison. And we're just like, hold up, this is insane. And so obviously now, all things considered, right? All things considered now it comes back to bite him. Now it comes back to say, hey, man, that looks bad for you actually doing an interview after we saw that you just convicted this man to 35 years. It's a bad look for you as an authority to be speaking on something that literally you should keep quiet about. You should probably be taking your own advice and put a gag order on yourself, because now what you did was, like I mentioned, when you're blind with rage and jealousy, you're gonna make a lot of mistakes. And this was a big mistake, man. This was a massive mistake, because obviously, like I told you guys, if Karmelo gets a fair trial, I don't think any black person would be upset about this. But the fact that we knew right off rip that this was going to be rigged up, we had a problem with it. And sure enough, it proved every single step that we were right. And now that all this is now coming back to bite them in the latter, bro, you can't tell me this ain't divine intervention, man. Something divine is at work right now that is making sure that Karmelo Anthony gets his just due, that Karmelo Anthony receives justice and a fair trial. That's all we asking for. A fair trial is not a lot to ask for, man. It's very simple, in my opinion, right? A simple, all right, guys, we're going to do it unbiased right down the line. We're going to make sure that the jury is a part of people of his peers, not just all YT folks. Nah, we need to make sure that all that is kosher, because if it's not, we're going to make sure that we raise hell. All right? That's, like I told y'all, them mentioning social media, them mentioning the influencers, them mentioning the independent journalists who are boots on the ground, who are following this case closely, that's grinding their gears. They can't stand it because we're not allowing them to lie to us, and we're not allowing them to lie to the public. We're using our platforms collectively, okay? All of us collectively are using our platforms to make sure that the truth gets to the people. And who cares how many people it gets to? I tell people this all the time. Like, obviously, my platform is much smaller than a lot of the people that I watch or that I look up to in this space. But at the end of the day, I do have people who watch my channel, who do patronize my channel. And so my responsibility from that is to make sure that I'm always bringing the truth, and I'm always going to bring them the commentary that is the real, all the facts, all right? From an independent perspective. You can have your own opinion. You can have your own outlook. That's you. That's what you want to do. But for me, this is my platform, Elite Media. I have to make sure that I bring you guys the truth, and I'm standing on business, right? And that we're not only standing on business, right? We're giving you guys real perspective, man. We're not just on here talking, bro. Because look, like I always say, man, I always say this, man. When we look at Karmelo, we don't just look at him as a kid or somebody who's, just out there. No, he reminds us of somebody that we know because he's part of our community. And so as a community collectively, we feel that he needs to make sure that he's represented, because we already know what they would do to him, what they're trying to do to him, and what they've already done to him. They sentenced this young brother to 35 years for defending himself. And we're just supposed to just take that? Nah, man, we're not going to take it. We're going to stand, and we're going to make sure that we get this brother the justice that he is deserved as an American, okay? He is an American, and he deserves to be treated as such, all right? His ancestors fought for this country. His ancestors built this country. So you better give him justice, or we're going to raise hell for our brothers. That's just what it is, man. It's a new day. And obviously, with the way that social media is set up and, where we're at as far as like the climate, you already know. There's a lot of buck dancing, a lot of that going on, a lot of boot licking, a lot of that. But that ain't going to happen over here. We don't play those type of games, man. We make sure that we keep it as real as possible. And it's up to y'all, whatever you guys do with the information, obviously. But when it comes to this Carmelo Anthony case, that's why I said it hits a lot of us in a certain way, because I got young nephews who are the same age as Carmelo. All right. I got brothers and friends who have sons the same age as Carmelo. I have dudes I work with who are young as Carmelo. I see a lot of that shit, man. I see a lot of it in myself, bro. And it's sad because obviously, yes, he made a big mistake, right? He made a mistake. Cool. Got you. I'm sure he learned from it. But at the end of the day, what I'm not going to do is make him feel guilty about defending himself when he felt like his back was against the wall. I will not do that, because I'm a huge advocate for self-defense and anti-bullying. All right. We know that. Anti-bullying, self-defense, martial arts. We talk about that all the time over here. We do not encourage or support any bullying of any kind. And if you F around, you're going to find out. You mess with the wrong person, something might happen to you, and you may never come back from it. That's why it's important to practice self-control. And if the Metcalf twins practice self-control, they would still be here today. All right? Let's just keep it a buck. If Austin and his brother mind their business, if they just stick to themselves, if they stay away, they say, oh, you know what? We're going to go tell a teacher, man. We ain't even going to get involved with this. They are alive. They are living their best life. They're off to college. Carmelo's off to college. But the fact that they made it their business, okay, to get in Carmelo's face, to try to punk him, to try to bully him, hey, man. I don't got nothing to say to that, bro. Like I said, you F around, you find out in life sometimes. And unfortunately, this is where we at, man. This is where we at in the climate, bro. A lot of kids, obviously they are here, trying to do what they can to get by and make a life for themselves, Carmelo Anthony was an exceptional student. He was a great athlete. He was on his way to college. He goes to a track meet. It's raining. He gets underneath the tent where he thinks that he's amongst friends, right? And ironically, now that we've had the Nolan Wells case come out, isn't it just funny? Isn't the similarities, right? Nolan Wells thinking that he was amongst friends. Carmelo Anthony thinking that he was amongst friends. Turns out that those friends kind of put them in a spot. Nolan Wells didn't make it, though. Okay? Nolan Wells didn't make it. Carmelo made it home. That's all I got to say about that. Carmelo made it home. All right? Nolan didn't make it home, and he thought he was amongst friends. Let that sit with your spirit, okay? When we're talking about what happened to Carmelo and the fact that today was Nolan Wells' birthday and all these significant moments that are happening all at the same time, like I mentioned, Carmelo thought he was with his friend, okay? He thought that brother, the little YT brother, was his friend. Turns out it wasn't his friend. Turns out he got on that stand and tried to alienate himself from Carmelo and put the blame on Carmelo, right? Now, it looks like Carmelo's the aggressor when in reality, right? When in reality, it is now coming out and proven that the brother thought he was amongst friends. He thought that that was his friend. He thought that his friend invited him under the tent so that he could have some closure and some dry area to be able to chill with his friend, that he thought we hung out. We were at family events together. I thought we was boys. He sets him up. Here come the Metcalf twins who, like I mentioned, could have minded their business. If they minded their business, if they stay out of this, nobody gets hurt. Everybody goes home. But they didn't mind their business. They made it their business to get in Carmelo's face and confront him for nothing, just because he's sitting under a tent while it's raining. Okay? And this, like we mentioned, multiple teams. He thinks that his friend is a part of the group. I'm going to go sit with my boy. We hang out outside of school, not just at school. I go, and now I'm on the defense because these two football players who I don't know are now trying to confront me, putting me on the spot. I think I'm with my boy. My boy is not backing me up, not trying to stop it, not trying to get in between and say, hey, man, it's the homie. Chill, bro. Nothing. So what you think I got to do? My back's against the wall. I have no other options. I'm thinking I'm amongst friends. I am not amongst friends. Okay, bet. Karmelo made it home. Nolan Wells didn't make it home. Nolan Wells thought he was amongst friends. Nolan Wells thought that he was amongst friends. Nolan Wells thought he was amongst friends. Karmelo thought that he was among friends. But Karmelo made it home. That's all I got to say about that. Okay? Take with that however you want to take it. But at the end of the day, Karmelo made it home. He did what he felt he had to do to make it home, to defend himself against somebody who was attacking him. And mind you, him as well, realizing that he was amongst strangers. No more sinking feeling in your stomach is being in a place where you think you're amongst friends and then realizing that you're actually alone. Let me bring you guys back to that thought, okay? Imagine thinking that you are amongst friends and then realizing that you are alone and you are also in danger. Okay? All these things are happening all at once. Imagine, okay, being a child, bruh. And you think that you're amongst friends. You think that you're among your homies. And then it turns out that you're not. And you are also in danger. You're about to get jumped. You got dudes coming from you on every situation, on every side. What do you do? Fight or flight. Okay? And like I told you guys, Nolan Wells didn't make it home. Rest in peace to Nolan Wells, who thought that he was amongst friends. Karmelo Anthony made it home. All right? Karmelo Anthony made it home. Whether you care or whether it matters what happened, it doesn't matter. He did what he had to do to make it home. He thought that he was amongst friends at a very, very light track meet. He's helping other people. Okay, he's over there coaching. He's part of a leadership group on his side of the team. The Metcalf twins, they're almost about to get kicked off of the team because they are non-factors. They hardly show up. They're troublemakers. And yet now we're supposed to believe this narrative that Karmelo is going out here with all these intrusive thoughts about poking people and all this stuff. Like I told you guys, it's going to get messy, man. And it's only going to get messier. Then this is now going to start to become the push for the assassination of the character of Karmelo Anthony. So you guys be on the lookout for that, okay? You guys keep your eyes open to the fact that now the narrative is going to shift into Karmelo Anthony's character assassination. All right? They're going to do everything that they can to make sure they muddy his character, make him seem like he was a bad kid, like he was a premeditated M-worder. All right? They're going to do everything in their power to make Karmelo look like the bad kid who he wasn't, okay? This is who Karmelo is. And this is how he will be remembered, and this is how he will be represented on this channel. Whether you like it or not, we do not care, because your opinions don't matter on Elite Media. Only opinions who matter are the ones who are subscribed, and if you got that Elite Media on your chest. You feel me? Because otherwise, this is how we will represent Karmelo over here. This is how he will be remembered, and this is how he will be represented and cherished, all right? Because at the end of the day, he's a kid. He made a mistake, sure, but we already told you the scenario, man. We already told you the scenario. Self-defense is self-defense. And we're going to keep following this story, man. This is, like I told y'all, this was a big, big development. And so now getting this, negligent, very, very ridiculous judge off of the case, now we can start focusing on getting the real justice and finding out the real details about what really happened on that day at that track meet. And now we can actually get a fair shake for Karmelo. And hopefully, the outcome will be different. That's all we can hope for. Obviously, like I mentioned, we can't get too high, we can't get too low. But at the end of the day, this was a good day for Carmelo Anthony's defense, and we're only hoping that it gets better. You know what I'm saying? So salute to everybody out there. Make sure y'all like and subscribe, man. This was just a quick stream today just to make sure that we stay on, the algorithm when it comes to Carmelo Anthony, because this is a very important story on my channel. I've been covering this one since the beginning, and I want to keep making sure that I keep you guys informed for those who want to follow this story and for those who care, because this is a real story, man. And like I told you, this is somebody's real life. As much as we like to, bring these true crime stories to the forefront, this is also somebody's real life. Carmelo is fighting for his life right now, and we cannot take that lightly. The young brother needs the support. He needs the help. All right. And so obviously having a great lawyer team that he's collectively put together, now is the time for him to continue to grow and to continue to fight for his life, man, because he's going to have to fight every single day, man. They ain't going to let up. All right. So yeah, salute to y'all. Make sure you guys like the video, because we need you guys to get the likes up, even if it was only 4 y'all in here. It's cool, because that's all we need, man. We small, but we mighty. So salute to y'all, man. Thank you, everybody. And I'm out. Peace.